I usually don't like to be too future predictive when I'm doing these because then
Yeah.
it's just lost in time as soon as you move
Those
on
things that
from
make sense.
the
Yeah.
event. But that being said, the only thing I do want to discuss with you in regard to the future is just going to champions. And specifically with it, I just want to ask about how you're going to be measuring your success for this year based on how you guys perform at that tournament and sort of what success and failure would mean to you in regard to that.
Yeah. I think at this point we have everything it takes to win it, and I want to win it, and I expect us to be able to win it. Obviously, the game is very competitive. I understand I should only communicate that winning it is all I want to do. Winning it is all I want to do, but it is really competitive. Sure, if we get top 4, top 3, top 2, and played lights out, and our growth really showed, and we were in incredible form, and that's where it landed, I would be proud of that too. But to go to champs and go out top 8 out of 16 or worse, to not make a really deep run, I want the trophy. I've told the team from the start of off season, I really enjoy the motto of there's only one game that matters, and it's the last game you play in the year, ideally the grand final. It's not quite true. I care about the games and winning Masters as well, but yeah, I think we all feel like we can win it. We want to win it. We want to make a showing that shows we're a very top contender for the long run. And to go out in the middle of the tournament, I wouldn't be able to walk away and be like, yeah, but we made every international, and we went out somewhere between bottom and top 50%. It's just not, it's time for the payoff.
Got you. So your ability to, in the off season, maybe not feel like you just have the albatross around your neck of a less than ideal result is dictated on actually having a deep run. Like, do you feel like you have the ability in the downtime to actually exit from Valorant just clouding your mind?
I can usually get like a week of that somewhere in there right after champ sends. Actually, right after is really hard as a coach because you got to immediately have to think about your roster and your team's contracts or your own contract, depending where it falls. I won't have to think about my own contract this year, which is nice, but I'll have to think about the team and what our future is. Usually like a few weeks of that. Okay, ducks are in a row. Now I can take like 1 week off, and then like a couple weeks. Around the holidays. So I would say get about 3 weeks total between the season ending and the next season starting to really try to get away from it all, which I think is very important.
Yeah. I do have a quote from you in another interview that I wanted to get your thoughts on now. This was with Leader Greb. It was a written interview that was really fantastic. And you had said that you hate the idea of playing Valorant at a level worse than we're capable of and wasting our potential. That's what keeps me chasing the carrot on the treadmill. And so in this kind of context, do you feel that you can play to your potential at Champions, not win, but still feel satisfied with the result? Is it okay if your potential isn't victory?
It's a mix. I think I'm with this team and how good we can be and how much work we've put in and grown. I really think we have everything it takes to win it. And I think when I set goals, I want to win it, but I understand the goal is to show the very best we can be. It's hard. I think that's the right mindset to have. I basically just was saying that 5 minutes ago, right? But I think no matter what, I'm going to walk away feeling no matter what, we either win it or I'm going to walk away feeling like we should have, could have won it. And, that I could have done things better, that we could have done things better. And that's just because of the team I have and the work we've put in. I think with a different team, I honestly don't think my answer would be that. But, I've been blessed with having teams where 2 years in a row now, we go to champs, and I believe we have everything it takes to win it. So that is what it is. I think it always stings right after you don't make it through a tournament all the way. It's easier to have some more perspective and more appreciation for the growth after, but it never fully goes away of feeling like you were in control to win it. So I really want to avoid that feeling and make sure we do grab the win this year. Hopefully that answer makes sense. It's always a balance of beating yourself up about things you could have done better, but also how else are you going to learn? And it's just this weird cycle in my mind of, I can push 5% harder. I can put 5% more into I could have prevented this mistake or this and that versus, I had to learn about this for the next time eventually. And that's just like a weird part of competitive esports is like you can't just always have a learning moment. Like eventually you need to just nail something you've never done before or avoid a mistake you've never made before. And if you don't do some of that, you never take home a trophy. You're just stuck perpetually learning. It gets easier. You can minimize your mistakes as you learn more, which I'm enjoying as I go further into my career as a coach. But yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 about chasing the trophy, I think.
When you mentioned the emotions of exiting a tournament, reflecting back on the two that you've had so far this year, you've made great runs in both. And then after elimination, how are you able to regulate your own emotions that you're feeling after an exit in conjunction with making sure that all of your players are feeling okay after that as well, given they all have different personalities and may be reacting in different ways themselves?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Sometimes, how do I do that? Not very well is the answer, but it's very hard to do well. I think the first 12 to 24 hours after we're out of a tournament is pretty easy for me to be there for them as a coach if they want that. I'm still in work mode. The adrenaline's still going. I can put them first and put my own thoughts on the back burner. Sometimes they don't always want to talk about how they feel in the first 24 hours, though. And after that, I need to do my own processing and grieving and resting. They all need to have people outside the team that they can talk to for a lot of different reasons. And they understand that, and I understand that. And that's a good example of it. Like, we're 3 days after a tournament, 2 days after a tournament ended. I'm there to talk to them if they need, but I think they know that, we're all doing our processing separately. Maybe it is best for them to talk to somebody outside the team. They know I'm going to give the whole team opportunities to share how we feel once we have time to collect our thoughts. So I think that's the best way, just guaranteeing to the team that we will have a time to share all our thoughts and come together, and making a point to them that they need to take the time to process it. And then once I've done my own kind of soul searching after a tournament, it's a lot easier to be there for them and kind of like understand how they're feeling from as unbiased of a perspective as I can.
What do you think about this team this year has been, or rather, what do you think the best aspects of this team have been this year in regard to the interpersonal relationships, emotional management, and that tying into the level of consistency that you guys have maintained?
I think it's just the collective drive to win, the grit, I guess, is very high on this team. The work ethic is very high, and the team really wants to win in a way that's very unwavering. Sometimes that backfires, like especially at the start of the year. I think we really had to learn how to not stress ourselves out, how to not take higher stakes games where we're really excited about the idea of winning and have that lead to stress and tension and failure. Still something we're not perfect at. But I think that because everyone is so interested in winning and so hard on themselves, yeah, they're just all very reflective. I think every single person on the team does a very good job taking self-accountability, taking time to understand their own emotions, their frustrations about themselves or the team or their coach. And at the end of the day, they're willing to be honest about it, because even though it's miserable, they understand that confrontation is what leads us to winning. I think all of us take a little too long to realize that sometimes, and sometimes I don't give us enough opportunity to kind of like let it out at each other. Something I've learned a lot this year. But yeah, I think that's kind of what helps us be consistent, is just that we bounce back from the losses and work through our stuff, whereas some teams can get kind of kicked in the mud and kind of turn into that sort of dead team arc where things just start to fester.
Yeah. Specifically, you've, longer than anyone on the team, been working with Zekken since the start of the partnership league. So it's been just coming up on 3 years now. And, he's kind of gone from being one of the youngest players in the league to just a more experienced, still obviously young adult player, but so much more experience to this point. What has been one of the really rewarding aspects of working with him over this long period of time?
Yeah, he's just super hardworking. He's just always down to put the work in, to put the time in outside the game. He takes his work really seriously. And as I've spent more time as a coach and been, a coach in person more, I really get to see how it makes it easy for me to learn how to help or push a player who is willing to put a lot of time in outside the game, when I have someone who's always A, willing to do it, and B, is just going to do it themselves. Like if I don't check in with Zach on what he's doing outside of practice, during the week to prepare for a game, et cetera, doesn't mean he's not doing it. He's just doing it and thinking about it and trying to figure it out anyway. So being able to work with someone like him for so long really gave me a lot of chances as a coach to learn how to kind of guide a player in that, and also just learn from them, learn what, I didn't compete at the pro level like these players have, and I didn't put as much time in as a player, so it's really easy to see what it takes when he's sitting there doing it.
Yeah, that was something that I had, perhaps it was in that interview with Leader Grev as well, was that you were speaking about, because early on in Valorant, you were playing as an IGL pro with the Space Station team, and then from there you went on to coaching with Ghost Gaming, and you made a point of bringing up that you felt like you were playing, or rather coaching some players on Ghost that were better than you, more experienced TAC FPS players than you, like NiSMO, and I think you mentioned Dazzle at the time was on that roster as well, and feeling like when you were suggesting something as a coach, there was maybe a little bit of insecurity attached to it, where you want to suggest something, but are you right compared to these guys who are more experienced? How were you able to move past that and begin to find that confidence, self-assuredness that what you're doing is actually the right path for people to be on, and they should be very trusting in you in that way?
Yeah, I think the best thing I could do was learn to just be honest about it. If, I need to make sure I don't have an ego, or at least one that's not out of proportion, and not to be stubborn. And, these are all things I have to work on. But when I'm very confident in an idea, I should present it that way, because that's how I feel. I recognize that my thoughts about this strategy, or the way we could be rotating on this map, or what we could be doing here, is in the top 15% of ideas in terms of my own certainty about them. I've really thought it through. I really feel my own flow about it, and I'm still open to being wrong. But I'm going to come out communicating with certainty, because I have certainty about it, and I do trust my own experience and understanding of the game. But that it's not my job as a coach to feel like that all the time. And I have definitely burdened myself with that in the past, and I think a lot of coaches do. They think it's my job to have the answer all the time, to be this all-seeing eye about certain parts of the game that I'm specialized in or that I feel a coach should be specialized in. If I don't feel that way, I'm failing as a coach, or how can they respect me? Those are definitely thoughts I have had at points in my career, and just really chucking them out the window has helped a lot. And I think it does a lot to earn a team's respect. Okay, so if, I think when I'm really certain about an idea, I am still wrong once in a blue moon, and when I'm willing to be like that, it shows a good example to the players, but also just being open and honest. Hey, I don't know what we could have done in this round differently, but I know we did something wrong, and what do you guys think we could do differently? Communicating my ideas and expressing that I'm not certain and I'm interested in their input. And sometimes just I don't even need to have an idea. I can just ask the players, what do you think? You're all really smart about this game, and you've put enormous amounts of time in for usually 5 years already. Let me learn from you, or let's think about it together. I'm just here to kind of guide you to critically think about it. Just knowing when's the right place and time to do a different version of that. It's just do I have the answer or not? And do I think they'll grow from me telling them the answer? Or do I think they'll grow from me asking them a question? And just being real about it, and not feeling that pressure to have perfect answers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of reading that related to some extent with my own experience with doing commentary and doing the color side of commentary, because I'm not as good as the pro players that are playing. Mm-hmm. I don't have the same level of knowledge, but I want to be able to most accurately represent what is happening in the game. Of course, I don't want to attribute the wrong intentions to what a team is attempting to do in a round, or why something went wrong. And especially, I really hate to be overly critical, and that's something that I try to really heavily police myself on actually doing, because I understand the limitations of my knowledge, but also there has to be a level of the sending it confidence, self-assuredness. But yeah, there's definitely been times where I've felt insecure in my knowledge, even just in a specific round. I'm not sure I'm reading this the right way. And I wanted to ask for your perspective on that, of what you think I could do in situations like that, where I'm not feeling at my most comfortable in my ability to accurately analyze the game and present it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking for a minute.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I guess, well, first of all, it's hard, right? You do need to, the flip side of, you don't need to be confident about, you don't need to communicate confidence about something if you're not confident about it. Well, on the other hand, first of all, if you're confident about something and then in hindsight are wrong, you have to make sure it doesn't prevent you from being confident in the future. I'm going to call out mistakes that I think are really obvious and poor, and often from a lack of focus or effort in practice. And 1 out of 5 times maybe, or 1 out of 8 or something, I'm just going to be outright wrong, and it's going to be misplaced, and I'm going to look like a fool. But I've even just said that to the players. I've said, once in a while, something that's really obvious to me, I am going to be wrong about. But I can't sit there and never call out obvious mistakes as obvious, just because there's a small chance that I might not be seeing it the right way. So obviously that's, the first part of it. You have to make sure that you balance your own confidence like that. But I guess if you're not certain about something, you're not sitting there talking to a player. You're casting a game in real time. But the closest thing I can think of is pretty much just expressing curiosity or wonder. It's interesting that this player chose to do this. Even if you don't have the answer, highlighting something you're not sure about. I think it would be fun for viewers to kind of be, their attention is drawn to that, and now it's become kind of like a communal curiosity. They can sit there and kind of wonder about it. It'll probably teach viewers to think more critically or have fun with that part of the game while watching. But that's just a guess. Obviously, the disclaimer is that I can't put myself in the shoes of the casual viewer that your casting is intended to kind of work with. But that would be my attempt at trying to think of something you can do about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good perspective. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just kind of always curious when I talk to different pros or coaches what their thoughts are on that aspect of the competitive ecosystem, because it's so necessary, obviously, for all of the players and teams to be represented accurately, but also the storylines to be told truthfully. And it's all important, but it feels like a lot of times there just becomes a disconnect. And at times there's I feel like there's a tension between some aspects of it where people don't like the way they're being represented, or they think that what is being said about them is wrong, and it might be. And so it's difficult to manage that. And I'm always interested in getting more idea just as to how that can be cohesive from top to bottom, and it's difficult.
Yeah, I think so. I think the best thing is that I've had like a caster or even an observer reach out to me before and ask me why did you guys do this, or why are you doing this, or what do you think about this comp on this map? And I always love to talk about the game, and I enjoy that they're seeking learning from people who are on pro teams, and not even necessarily learning, what's the correct thing, but what's our perspective as pros on it. I think that's probably the best thing is, I would love there to be more open dialogue between talent and pro teams about the way the game works. We can probably both learn from each other. But I stand by in the moment that, like, in the moment when people are casting, I prefer that they take their own shots at what they think makes sense and criticize and call things out with confidence. Even if I don't agree with it, I find it more entertaining than if a caster is afraid to do that, and then there's just not a lot of kind of flavor added to watching the game.
Right. Yeah. If it's too reserved or becomes too safe, it's not captivating in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel the same. Kind of take it back in time a little bit, but past where it mentioned Ghost. Mm-hmm. I'm curious as to how now you reflect on early in partnership, or it was midway or so through that first year where you were, at least what felt like from the outside, pretty suddenly just thrust into the head coach position for SEN when Psycho was released. Just thinking back on that now, kind of, where were you at, and how do you feel about that time for you personally and as a coach in that situation that seemed pretty tough?
Yeah. It was a hard one for sure. I think it was easy to gain confidence as a head coach on Ghost. I had a good group of guys that really saw me as this person who had been kind of specializing in Valorant from the day beta launched. And we had a really good relationship, like me, NiSMO, Dazzle, and I learned from them. I showed I was willing to learn from them, but they also showed they were interested in learning from me, and I brought a unique perspective. And so it became really easy to become their head coach. And it was definitely a lot harder on Sentinels in that first year. First of all, I'm coming in as an assistant coach. There isn't any precedent set that I'm the head coach, that they ought to respect me on certain things, that I'm the one who makes decisions on certain things. And then just suddenly that is what I am to them. And these are teams and players from teams who have all placed much higher than I ever have. And you can't just sit there and throw all your respect at them and constantly ask them questions on how everything worked or what they think to do, because you're not going to gain any respect that way, but you also can't not do that. And just trying to strike that balance was very difficult. but we just had games to play. I was thrust into the head coach spot in the middle of a league split, so I don't have too much memory about that except just go, try to get everything together. But there was a long time between that and LCQ, like over a month, and that was nice. Having 4 weeks of scrims, like I just started to have moments where I could be clear about what I thought was appropriate, set the culture, get frustrated at scrim day where I didn't think we were taking it serious. But it was definitely slow going, and it was definitely a unique challenge. And I definitely had to spend a lot of time getting the perspective of players who did have a lot of experience on other teams like Loud and XSET to get an understanding of what worked for them.
Yeah, because there was another quote from that. I'm just going to keep pulling from that interview with Leader Greg because it was really fantastic. I was going through it. I'm like, damn, there's a lot here to just call back to and kind of piggyback off of in addition to everything he was asking. And there was just another quote from that I found really telling of you from that time where you had said, like, you would say to the team, like, all right, guys, let's cross the street. And you would look back and they were all just still standing still. And with that kind of being the framing, I was wondering if that was a time for you where it was maybe causing some level of like an imposter syndrome. Do I belong here as the head coach of these guys? Am I supposed to be in this position right now? Am I actually ready for this? Was that something that you had to get over?
I think there were, that roster build definitely wasn't optimal and had problems. Like, just in terms of how all the personalities add up. Like, I'm not even talking about the game and roles and stuff. I won't even go there because it just doesn't matter. What matter, if you have problems that are even lower on the kind of pyramid. And I'm not trying to say, any one player was like toxic or anything. I just mean like you need certain traits in total between the 5 players. And there were just some personalities that I felt like a team needs to be successful in a 5-player game that we didn't have. And there's not much you can do about it. And I tried my best to lead that team, but I'm human too. And yeah, if I'm saying let's cross the street, or I often talk to the players, it's kind of like tug of war. Like, somebody has to be the first to pull the rope, and then somebody has to feel it and be the second to pull the rope. If I just feel like I'm pulling, and there's not a lot of follow-up, I'm going to lose maybe my own confidence in it, or maybe it's just adaptive in the fact that this just isn't really working. I might as well put my resources elsewhere. I might as well watch more VODs, spend more of my energy on these things, whatever. But yeah, I would say like by the end of that year, I hadn't coached Ghost for about 13 months by the time we were going into the off season and kind of the roster changes we made, bringing John in, bringing Zellsis in. It wasn't even imposter syndrome anymore. I'd just kind of forgotten some of my strengths as a coach and some of my love for coaching, I think. But having a squad where I felt like the pieces added up better, we had key personalities you need in a team, we had more total leadership, I really felt a lot of love for coaching come back. I really enjoyed leading. I felt rewarded for moments where I did it because I had players who responded to it and said, yeah, come on, guys, let's cross the street. And I saw players from the roster in the first year respond to that too, right? It's just a chain reaction. So, I think Gustavo brought so much leadership, but I think it was hard for him that first year. And when there was more of that around him, he really stepped up and showed how much he could do. And it just became everyone bouncing off each other. Yeah. So definitely some imposter syndrome that shedded pretty darn quickly after we kind of got a roster that I felt like checked more boxes.
Because you were with John for a period of time on Ghost.
Yeah.
Right. Like kind of towards the end. Yeah. Was having that relationship coming back as kind of a backbone of the team, just an aspect of it that was something you were really able to build off like that. Were you feeling the comfort again?
Definitely. Yeah. Brings a lot in terms of like his work ethic, his just like his focus on the game. He's focused, he's calling, he's locked in. He doesn't want to waste his time, and it's really easy to feed off of it and be motivated and led by it. He's also very good he's composed. He's good at telling people to relax, to calm down during a match. And then on Ghost, we had NiSMO, who did so much for Ghost. He was everyone's brother on the team. He made it feel like a family. He would call people out so earnestly and directly. He would get furious when we were wasting our time or doing poorly or playing below our potential, and it said a lot. And I often do the same thing. And Jordan really, really brought a lot of that. Like, really, he and NiSMO are so similar and so rare in terms of like kind of like the big brother, like captain, emotional leader energy that they bring. And like, yeah, I felt like Amin really had a partner in crime in Marky and NiSMO on Ghost, and like having Jordan and Amin together really kind of like I got the similar sort of dynamic that I knew worked on Ghost.
Yeah, there were like 2 remaining players for me that I have just always felt like how has this guy not been on a tier 1 team? It was Scuba, who now is on Energy, and NiSMO is the other one.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in a while. Some very deep lore is that just before Valorant was coming out, I had a period of time where I was like running an org, and NiSMO was on my ESEA Mountain Dew League team. Even in just conversations I've had with him then, when you're talking about the personality of the direct saying it how it is, but also listens in the same way, like even just in kind of limited experience with him, that was something that I noticed and definitely appreciated about him.
Yeah,
I don't understand how he's not. I don't get it. Maybe he's just feeling content with where he's at.
No,
I have no idea.
I can't speak for him, but I'm sure he would like to be in tier 1. And he's a unicorn of a player, and it was already frustrating that he wasn't being given chances. And at this point, I think with how some of the Americas teams have gone and how their builds have gone in the last couple of years, I think if he doesn't get an opportunity, I'll be raging on Twitter about it.
It feels kind of criminal at this point. It's pretty obscene. One of the periods of time that I was most excited to ask you about is right around Madrid and just after Madrid as well, because I felt like watching the team and especially watching you, and by that I mean just how you would operate in the timeouts when you're on camera during the broadcast, but also just when they cut to the coach cams between rounds, etc.
Yeah, I
felt like you had a huge personality shift before and after Madrid. I don't know if you feel the same way. And I don't mean maybe personality shift in. I kind of mean like specifically. It felt like you weren't showing a lot of emotion before Madrid, and then after, you'd be on the cam. And I remember casting some of the games being like, whoa, like Kaplan is going off right now. I don't remember him being like this at all just a month ago. I'm like, was I missing something? Am I accurately representing that? Okay.
Yeah, it was a misstep to a degree. Like, first of all, like I saw we could win a Masters. Not just I could win a Masters, our team could win a Masters. And that's super motivating, and it felt really good. And I didn't have any like, nice, that's a box checked. I was like, that felt so good, and there's no question of whether it's possible. We just did it. All that matters is continuing to do it. Go, go, go. And when I am emotional with the team in a timeout or between maps, it is genuine. And I believe there is a time and place to show my genuine emotion in order to motivate or get the best out of them. But I was so rewarded for that in some big moments in Madrid that, yeah, I think the confidence and desire to continue winning as a team cranked my own excitement and motivation and emotion. And the getting rewarded for sharing my emotion, I kind of, not consciously whatsoever, but in reflection, a lot of reflection last year, leaned into that. Oh, that's a skill I have. That worked really well. I should keep doing that. And those two things combined, it was a misstep. It was definitely a regret of mine. I was definitely too hard on us and too kind of stressed out, although to me it felt like excitement and thrill to win at the moment, post-Madrid. And it just wasn't the best thing the team could have had. And, there's always a balance I'm trying to strike with it, but it was way off that balance.
Do you feel like you have that balance more now? Because you definitely still show a lot of emotion. That like usually involves the health and safety of Qbert.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you think you've established that at this point, or does it still teeter at times?
I think I was quick to realize that you can't just be certain you're going to win everything and obsessed with winning everything. Oh my gosh, we won Madrid, we're going to win Shanghai, like Dynasty, yeah. Like that came very quickly as a realization. Basically by probably like halfway toward the end of that stage. I think leaning into my emotion, I definitely still do it sometimes when I think it's needed. I was still doing it, I think, plenty of points this year when it wasn't what was needed. Or sometimes I explored the opposite. Okay, I am really angry right now, but I think the team needs to be more relaxed. So I need to make a point to sound relaxed in the timeout. If I even realized some of that in Madrid. There was this, I was just so pissed at how overheated we were in split against Paper X, I think. It was the loser final. And I was just, screaming at the team about how they're overheated. That's not a great way to tell a team. If you just sound super stressed, you're not going to communicate to your team to be less stressed. So you do have to fake it. You have to take your deep breaths, talk to your assistant coach, use all your opportunity as a coach so that once you press the button and your mic's unmuted for 1 minute, you sound like what your team needs to hear. And I think this year I've really gotten to a point where I realize I don't always need to be that for the team. Sometimes leading is trusting them to lead each other, giving them the stick, and going, right now, my best thing I can do is just talk about the strategy, focus on the strategy. What do we need to do? Or spend 5-10 seconds of that timeout on our emotions, not 30. And there's, I think there's a lot said in that. I think that says, hey, I believe in you guys. I believe you can lead each other. I believe you know how to find your flow and your calmness and your certainty that you can win. There's a lot of power in not saying a lot. And that's something I feel like I only really recently started to lean more into. And that's very much thanks to the players. I think they do a really good job being honest with me and critical to me about what they think I can work on. They didn't explicitly say those words, but we had a VOD review, after G2, we were really frustrated, and we had a VOD review where this is silly that I haven't been doing this. We watched back the timeouts. Why don't we watch back all the timeouts? And they were straight with me, and it was hard for me because I was really frustrated with how I sounded in some of them. And it's definitely made me more reflective on the best coach I can be in the match day.
What was happening in that game, or when you went back to the timeouts, that you felt like, damn, why was I doing that?
I really wanted to kind of start the stage hot. I do really like to beat G2, and I know we can be unreal, and I was definitely letting that turn into stress and impatience where my perception of how we were playing in the moment was warped, and I can be better about that. But what I can especially be better about is just being aware of that and not leaning into it, recognizing, okay, I'm frustrated. I can focus on the strategy and just talk about the strategy in this timeout instead of I'm frustrated and I must be certain on how they're feeling and playing right now. I must be objectively correct and let me lean into that for 30 seconds of this timeout. That's just not fair to them, and I don't think I set them up too well in that match specifically. And it's something I've been more conscious about since.
Yeah. Is it kind of cathartic and helpful to get a lot of the emotion out before the timeout as far as when the rounds are happening? Just when they go to the coach cam and you're getting whether it's fired up or just showing the frustration and getting it out and like hitting your desk or something. Like,
Yeah.
does that help you in any way?
I think it's a balance. I think a little bit of it's good. Realistically, you're not just gonna like go in without any emotion in the coach booth. So yeah, hitting a desk, throwing Kubert a bit, saying a few words of frustration with Luke, with Gunter, my assistant coach. Yeah, that is definitely good. But also, like, we can't just, I can't just sit there like tilt spiraling. I can't just sit there venting incessantly about how we're making mistakes, or it's all I'm going to be focusing on. And, there's times where I'm, all right, like, I don't think we played the last few rounds great, and I'm frustrated, but it's no different for us. It is different, but not that different than players. Let's high five. Let's get a fist bump after this round win. We got to keep our own vibes up too. Just like not being ignorant to that is definitely important.
Yeah.
In the coaching booth.
There was a clip that I had seen of Tens on his stream, and he had just said that basically he felt like you were excellent at building relationships with the players, and that's not an experience he's really had with other coaches compared to what you were able to do. What are the life experiences that you have had that you think have given you that ability?
Playing on esports teams growing up, obviously. I was playing on little Counter-Strike source teams when I was like 12, 13. I thought back to, I had this memory that popped in my mind about a year ago of being like 12 or 13 and saying to my CS source team, hey, I think we should talk about our feelings after the scrims tonight, because I feel like if we don't do that, we'll be worse, and like maybe we'll like feel better if we do it. And then me being like, never remembering that until a year ago, and being like, how people are like, oh, I saw it playing in this guy when I was 7 and decided to be a pilot. And me being like, whoa, like that was like the craziest moment. Doing that, and also just like I've also been addicted to video games growing up, and I think most pro players are pro because they were at some point addicted to games in an unhealthy way, and that's what got them to playing so much that they became pro. But I also took a lot of time. There were like a couple chapters of my life, like 18, 19 going into college, and around like 22 where I really like quit gaming for like over a year. I worked I went to college, but I also just worked kind of like odd jobs, like varnishing on a boat, like boats for the summer in the in a marina, like stuff like that. I think it does help to have some of that experience, to have like just gives me more life perspective, to have pulled my life out of being so online for certain points. Kind of what that does to you. It makes you realize what being online and playing games all the time does to you. And then when you're aware of those things, sometimes you can't fix them. We can't work 6 hours a day. They can't only play games 2 hours a day. But at least we can be aware of the cost of it and what can we do in 1 or 2 hours, in a day or a week to attempt to balance that back out.
Could that be a challenge to get over with a lot of these players who are just really young that have done absolutely nothing but play games? In regard to you having way more life perspective, or is that just easy because you have it and you can kind of instill that wisdom?
Yeah, it's a good question. Could be both, yeah. Sometimes it's easy. Other times it's frustrating because I see that they're in a spot or feeling a certain way that I don't want them to feel, and I think whatever, a different situation, different habits, etc., can help with. But I'm also not the one to be able to help with it. Like, I don't want anyone to have this perspective that I'm going around with this team and like, teaching them constantly to like eat cleaner and like go on hikes every weekend and stuff. Like, I'm not as healthy of a person, even close to it, as I can and should be. And it's always a work in progress. And it's very hard to be a person who like reflects health and teaches health and balance when, well, first of all, our job's kind of, the word balance is like incongruent with success in terms of what we need to put in, but also I'm a head coach of a Valorant team. I'm not a performance coach. Like I have to have a lifestyle as well where I'm constantly watching, et cetera, et cetera. So it is frustrating, but it's just kind of like we're all in this together. Like, hey, like we all want to be healthier. What's one thing we can each do to be healthier this week? Like, we'll do like a little habit tracker at the start of scrims. Like, what's a habit you want to work on this week? We'll just check in every day, every morning. Like, did you do this habit? How's it going? Like, just trying to do little things to just be like, hey, this is a problem. The least I can do is be aware of it and call attention to it, so that we're not ignoring it, so that we're not unaware that sleep being bad equals bad performance, and these are the reasons we're sleeping bad. Like, but it's just bittersweet that like I can't solve any of it for them,
Right. We can try to point them in the right direction at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you kind of end up seeing yourself in the players in a way?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I definitely get that experience, even with just some players that I don't even really know, but I'm just watching them like, oh my God, that was me when I was 18.
Yeah.
I was acting the same way. I was having the same insecurities and displaying them in this way. Like, oh my God, it's painful. I just want to just pull them to the side and be like, I know exactly where you're at, bro. I get it, but kind of just have to. Well, sometimes you have to let them figure it out on their own and hope they'll get there.
And they're incredible. I see myself in them, but I also see that they're harder working and more driven than I was at that age. Like, for sure. Like, it's just really impressive. There's a reason I wasn't pro for more than a few months, and it took me till 26, I took longer to find my drive and work ethic. I was coming at pro playing from kind of an unhealthier place, I guess, as a younger person, just like, or trying to be pro, of like, hey, games are really fun, and they really like understand and want to win and understand its work in a way that I didn't at their age.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, when you're mentioning just age 12, you're ready to have an emotional sit down with your CS source team. I'm just throwing out an assumption here, and you can let me know, but I would imagine some of that comes from you, mentioning that your family has a background where I think you said your grandparents were both therapists or psychologists, and I'm not sure if that was the case with your parents as well, or if they were, just kind of everyone down the family tree were instilled with that ability to be more emotionally outward.
Yeah, my dad's grandparents were both at points practicing therapists, psychologists, and professors their whole life of psychology. And he isn't, but he's been kind of a entrepreneur, starting and leading his own businesses his whole life. So I got a lot of perspective from that. And both my parents have been willing to talk about emotions and inviting that as a good thing. I think that's something culturally that came a lot from my dad's side. And also just believing in therapy, obviously, because his parents were therapists. So, therapy is objectively a good thing, not something somebody should just go to. Like, it's not like my foot hurts, I'm going to go to the foot doctor. Like, you should, if you can afford to go to therapy, ideally we would all go all the time. So I did get to go as a kid, and I think all that definitely taught me. I don't know, when you're allowed to be emotional and share your emotions and communicate them, that's how you gain emotional intelligence, because you're encouraged to think about and share and kind of work through it. I'm super lucky to have had that.
It seems like that's something that, at least at times, the players on your team have been able to show. Even this year, I can't remember the exact context of it, and maybe you do, but there was a clip after one of the matches, I think it was during kickoff, that a narrate was crying after the game and seemed like was kind of seeking some support from you in some way. I guess, maybe you can just illuminate me to what was going on there, but then also how you're able to handle a situation like that and be a support system.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Marshall. He just keeps it real, and he's just down to show his emotions and say what he's thinking. And I applaud it, and I'm lucky to coach it. And I didn't tell him to do it or teach it or anything like that. That's just who he is and what he brings into a team, and I love it, and I love him for it. And the number one thing I try to do in those situations is just make it clear to the player that it's a good thing and that it is okay that they're sharing and showing those things. It's not my job to give them answers or to remove any of those emotions. The best thing I can do is just validate them. And I don't even know if he was seeking support from me in that moment as much as just, being outward and honest with his team on how he was feeling in that moment. But I want to give him support, so I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he has, I think that kind of thing is just, I think it's sort of a chain reaction. Yeah, I think if I'm willing to do it and players are not rewarded for doing it, but when they share emotion toward each other and it doesn't end up in the team dying, it ends up in, we're going to talk through this and take the time and we're going to come out the other end better for it. I do think that, encourages a team culture where people feel safe to share it and whatnot. But it helps to have players like him who sort of set the example.
Yeah, it is cool to see. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate players being vulnerable in that way, especially just in the culture of gaming and it being a whole lot of young men.
Yep.
And it's difficult to want to or be open to displaying that. I think maybe especially so in esports, and maybe I'm projecting a bit, and I know I see it with a good amount of players, at least to be fair, is just when you're at that age, I just feel like, especially in gaming, there's such a desire to mask the insecurity and act way, I guess, like more cold and just stoic than they actually are. So I appreciate when someone is able to do that. I don't know if you kind of feel the same way or if that's something you've encountered, with the players that you've had in the past.
Definitely. I think it's the most meaningful and fulfilling and memorable moments of my career are when, as a team, we're just completely vulnerable and honest with each other. And I still can be so much better about it and being, doing it in the right way. But I agree. Yeah, I think that obviously I just think culturally, especially in America, men are taught not to show emotion much or really confront or deal with them or have them sometimes. I'm lucky to be from a family and that their culture I think is a little different there. And I think a lot about, obviously I really want to win trophies. Yes, like I love competing and it is all I think about a lot of the time. But of course I have thoughts of I want to exit coaching, having made a difference, having what is my sense of purpose. I've had a lot of personal growth and become a better person thanks to esports since I was a kid. Like it really kind of like guided me through my teens to stumble upon Counter-Strike and competing. And I want to make sure these players have the same experience. I don't want them to only come out messed up from having played games all the time and have, all of their self-assurance or growth measured by a competitive result. That I want them to have better lives thanks to esports. And I think that, facilitating and encouraging a team culture where we can do these things is like the most fulfilling part of the job and the number one goal of the job for me at the end of the day.
How do you kind of see yourself in the future in regard to what you're doing, just in terms of as well with what you mentioned there, like looking back and just feeling like, I'm content with everything that happened and I feel like I'm at peace with it and can move on.
Yeah. I definitely want that part. I want to look back at coaching, a decade from now and be really proud of the kind of growth and all of the stuff outside of competitive result. But I also want to coach for a long time and to get a lot of trophies as well, it's super fun to do it. And I do think it's a measurement of a really close and tight-knit team, and that's a really cool thing. And I think these players deserve trophies. And I'd ultimately be failing them, our org, our fans, if we can't get them. And yeah, it's just a special experience, and it's a really fun way to celebrate growth is to hold up that trophy. And I've put a lot of time of my life into maybe it is a carrot on a stick, but into coaching, and I want kind of the I want to be able to like apply. I don't want to just learn it and then jump out of it. I want to, it's really fun to kind of go through the hardship and learn, and then like put it to good use.
Yeah. Do you feel like you just kind of got lucky stumbling into this position? Like, and I'm just kind of curious what it was like giving up maybe the dream of trying to play pro yourself and moving into this coach position, and then did it just click like, oh wait, this is actually what I was supposed to be doing this whole time?
Yeah, I was curious about like, combining psychology and esports, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And my brother played Overwatch competitively and then switched to coaching Overwatch in Overwatch League. Excuse me. And
who was your brother?
Shake.
Oh, okay.
Who was a sport player who then coached on Boston Uprising.
Yep.
And
I remember scrimming against him way back in the day when I played competitive Overwatch for like year one. Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. The good old days.
It was really fun. It was really fun for a bit until the meta changed and it was 3 tanks and I was playing Winston for hours on end every day, and my soul was being slowly removed from my body.
I don't blame you. Ricky was like the end of it all. But anyway, I mean, I think, I enjoyed competing, but like so much of my skill set that got me to being a pro player in Valorant was stuff that I realized was just coaching or what a coach should be doing anyway. And so I don't know. I never had it in my mind really deep down that like I wanted to be a pro for as long as I could or for a long time. And I actually felt some insecurity about it. I thought sometimes I was like, I don't feel like I daydream about holding up that trophy as much as other players on my team or on other teams. And I didn't play sports growing up. And so I was like, am I just not a competitor enough to make it in esports? Like, I don't feel like I fully feel it, that desire to win. And then I switched to coaching and was like, oh, this is really fun. And I feel I'm good enough at it that I can conceptualize the idea of being the best and of winning trophies. And it I didn't think I was or was going, I don't think I am that now. But like the idea of becoming that just felt very real, and very immediately into coaching, I was like, I'm doing the right thing. I am best fit for this, and that makes it much more fun.
Even though you weren't playing sports, do you feel like you weren't getting that hyper competitive experience and drive from playing CS on teams when you were way younger?
I definitely really wanted to win, but I don't think I wanted at any point to be a pro because I wanted the trophies and to be the very best at something. I just really loved being on a team and competing with people and like the experience and growth I had from that, and just was like, oh, this is the most fun part for me. I want to get paid to do this so I can keep doing it as an adult, was my thoughts, I think, when I was more of like a teenager playing and stuff.
Gotcha. At that time, I believe you had said something about, that time in your life that was like, growing up in a rural place has given you a different perspective on how you can pace your life. And I was curious to just ask you about that time and what it was like growing up where you did and the experiences that you were having then, and maybe how they, have further impacted you.
Yeah. It was definitely. I grew up in a small town. I lived in a city, but from the age like 7 to 18, I lived in a pretty small town in New Hampshire, and also growing up in a time like before smartphones and like the internet being like a thing everyone uses all the time. And instead it was like there's a computer in your kitchen and you open it for 20 minutes a day. Both those things combined definitely made me have a perspective on how different your brain and your experience of life just moment to moment can be. Maybe super conscious of what screen time and games and the internet can do to you, can do to your how you feel and how your mind works. And it's like something I constantly grapple with. I think it makes it easier for me to attempt to be more balanced, and make healthier choices around it. Hard to say exactly. I'm definitely not handling it as well as I could, but yeah, I think it's just like bittersweet because, like I said, our jobs as pros kind of aren't congruent with what's probably like the healthiest lifestyle. But first of all, it makes it easier to strive to fit a little health in there. And also, it's like this probably really messed up part of my brain. I'm not sure this is the healthiest way to think, but I don't think the way and life pace I have and what I do is like objectively like the healthiest and happiest I could probably have my brain feeling. But the awareness of that makes me really focused on making my time worth it. Like I think a lot about how my life could have been different in the last 5-6 years if I wasn't in esports. And I'm very aware at least of some of the downsides and costs of it. And then it's probably for me the number one motivator to making a difference, making lives better, for making sure we walk out of it having learned a lot, but also wanting to kind of like win and just not waste our time. Like this isn't the healthiest thing in the world, so let's make our time worth it. And I think some folks who are of younger generation haven't had as much of that perspective. It's just the only thing they've been doing since they can remember. They probably, I imagine, think a little less about the cost of it. So yeah, just being aware of the cost.
Do you feel like it's sustainable then? When you're saying you want to coach for as long as you can, or a decade, I think you said, like those two statements feel very conflicting.
Yeah.
Do you think you can manage that without just totaling your brain and actually being able to go for a run that long?
It gets easier the more I learn because there's more just spotting patterns and kind of like I don't think every moment to moment is as taxing on me, and I have a really great team and a great assistant coach and a great org, and that makes it easier. I think 50 years, 20, 30 years, whatever, way down the line, I think esports can be more sustainable in terms of what you're talking about what it takes to kind of be a pro at it, because there could just be a larger staff and more support for players and more coaches. So the work can be spread out more. Right now, that's not where it's at. And no, I don't think it is sustainable for me for like ever. Like I don't think I could, like, oh, I'm going to coach till I'm 60, 50. Like, or, I think you have to be a certain type of person, maybe. You don't, less of a desire for certain relationships, less, if you don't want kids or something. But, like, yeah, I wouldn't be willing to, I would like to have children. And I wouldn't be able to have, I wouldn't feel right having a child who's 4, 5, 6 years old and me putting what I'm putting into coaching right now. That wouldn't be fair to them. So I recognize that this is a chapter of my life. It's one I'm comfortable doing for a lot longer still because I've put so much into it and I'm really enjoying it, and it's something very special to me, and I want to make it count and do it kind of as long as I can to an extent. But currently, I can't wrap my head around doing it forever, no. Without just doing a bad job at it. I think, yeah, I could do a mediocre coaching job and have time for other parts of my life, but that wouldn't be fair to anyone. So
yeah, no, I mean, I definitely understand, and yeah, relating that, it feels like a lot of my time spent is life on hold for work, because, like, for instance, this period of time, I'm recording this, it's week 4 of stage 2 Americas, and it's for me 6 weeks in a row of traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
And so how are you supposed to manage a personal life within doing that at multiple points throughout the year, on top of doing, if there are global events? It's just, it feels like I love doing it.
Yeah.
But at some point, getting older, I'm like, damn, where is the breaking point going to be? Because I think we're the same, basically the same age. You're 30.
Yeah.
I'm
31,
about to be. I'm about to be 30, and so it feels like I'm getting to a point where it's complex to juggle everything.
Yeah.
Like, it almost felt hard for me to get a cat because I'm like,
that's fair.
When am I wanted to get a pet forever, and I'm like, when is the optimal time? Like, I had to optimize my time to get a cat and spend time with him. So it's not just like I'm a stranger to my own pet going back and forth. And even now, I'm like, even with just a cat, like, shit, I have my friend going back and forth, like, he's seeing my cat more than I am for these like 6 weeks. So I had to like min-max cat time where I could get him like at the end of the season last year, spend enough time with him for like 3.5 months where he knows me, and then start traveling back and forth. It's like, and that's like what feels like the maximum that I can accomplish in like my personal life at the moment with doing it. And I'm grateful for it, of course, but like, it can be difficult to balance that, man.
Yeah, it can. There is a conscious sacrifice being made. And that I don't think any career where that's where there's consciously a lot of sacrifice is something that any of us probably can wrap our head around doing forever. But like I said, it does make it really motivating to kind of make it worth it. And I think both of our careers are very unique and interesting and rare, and I feel very lucky to have mine. And it's hard to wrap my head around anything I'm doing after being quite as fun as this. And so it does make me want to make it count and still do it for a lot. Too. I still want to do it for a lot longer. It's just 10 years from now, I don't know about that. But I want to win for a bunch of years before I'm done. I feel like I haven't done enough winning. I want multiple very winning years. That's the goal. And some of the sacrifice as I get older, I'm like, well, this is just my fault. Like when I feel like my body is like deteriorating and I'm just not being healthy, that one I've really called BS on it myself in the last year and been like, okay, come on. Like, what am I just going to be like, oh, this coaching is such a sacrifice to my posture and my body. And I'm just like, I'm wearing myself down. Okay, well, maybe if I don't eat like crap every time I'm stressed, and like maybe I just need to put 1 hour of exercise in the morning first, like no matter how much work needs to be done in a day. And maybe I need to understand that if I do that, I will be more efficient and have more energy. And so some of it I've just realized my perspective is bad on. But some of it is objective. Like time for family and friends and your cat, and your dogs, and my wife, and
that's what I've been trying really hard with this year as well. Just the little things that add up, like during the work weekend or like after the weekend is over, going out to get drinks after and just stuff like that, where I'm like, I'll go out for a bit. I'm not going to drink. I'm just, because I know the next day I'm traveling home on Monday. I'm home for a day and a half. I'm traveling back. Broadcast for 3 days. Like my brain will be destroyed and I'm just like trying my best to, even though it sucks, get in the hotel gym. There's dumbbells and a cable machine. I'll do what it takes. Like just trying to make sure that the little things are there, because I can feel it wearing me down. And then, I mean, what you said really relate to the, like, what is going to be more fun than this? I don't know. I'm sure, and maybe it can be found later, but damn, like when there was even an announcement earlier this year, I think there was something from like Leo Faria posted something about how the challenger system was going to be changed like in 2027 or 2028 or something like that. And I think it was 2027. And I saw that. I'm like, okay, nice.
Yeah.
The league is going to be around for at least 2 more years.
Yeah.
So I can plan around that. It's still going to be going.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can still be working there for 2 years. And then from there, shit. But I definitely got 2 more years in me where it's like, I don't know if that's something you've like, kind of a similar thought you've had where you're like, okay, Valorant's still going to be around for now.
I get to points where I feel like I'm burning out a bit and plateauing at the same time. And at the very worst points there, I'm saying to my wife, like, 1 more year. I'm done after another year. Like, I'm just furious about it. I'm like, and then it's always like right after, like a couple weeks after a plateau is broken through, we win, make an international, win an international, whatever. And I feel like my whole understanding of coaching, like in some moment, like, once or twice a year, just like changes. I'm like, whoa, like this is really what leading is, or this is really what putting time in understanding the game is. And it's just like, it makes the job feel like so deep. Like the rabbit hole is massive, and it's so fun to be 5 years into doing something and still have these moments that I've had where like my perspective on like what being the best coach I can be is, and like how I've changed as a person from it in the middle of this season has been the most intense experience I've had yet. And it's 5 years in. That's crazy to me that I can have kind of the biggest breakthrough in what I feel, or like growth as a coach 5 years in. And then, those moments make me be like, what's 5 years further in? And after I've gone through the cycle of like burnout, like, I think I'm done soon. Just kidding. This is incredible. Now that I've been through that like 3 or 4 different times, then I start to kind of realize, okay, I'm just always going to feel those moments, and I could probably go do it for a really long time. Yeah, it's funny. I'm in the last year, I feel like, I could go another 5 years. Whereas if you asked me 1 or 2 years ago, I think I'd say probably, I got another couple of years left. So, yeah.
Have you had a couple of those moments this year? And what were they?
This is the first year where I don't think at any point I really felt like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. It's more so like, no, I can do this for a lot longer, but I really need to be making it count and doing better and stuff like that. I want to make sure I'm winning in the time I'm going to put in, kind of. But yeah, I think definitely like, coming back from World Cup, I would say, and like kind of thinking about like, you can't, praise me, and he called me out on it. He basically said in a really kind way as a friend that I can be so focused on so many parts of the team and so aware of so many parts of the team that I just kind of can drive myself insane with it, because there's just so many plates to spin and so many things I want to be done well. But it just gets me to a point where I can't be the best coach I can be because I'm just pushing myself too hard. And I would say that kind of like stepping back, trusting the team, trusting the emotional growth they've had, and that I believe I've helped them with, but going like, okay, it's kind of like, let's take the training wheels off. Like, I need to stop helicoptering you guys. It's time to really believe, like, I'm really lucky to have you guys, and I respect and trust you as leaders and competitors, and I'm gonna take some of my energy and put it more into just Valorant coaching. Like, I can do a lot of things, and my job is about a lot of things, but sometimes it's in everyone's best interest for me to just focus on the game. I'm sick of having 4 or 5 maps in our pool every time we go to an international and getting punished for these things. Like, let me just kind of go back to my roots and nerding about the game. I think of, not that I haven't been doing that, but I like really leaning into that. It's kind of that's been probably like the big breakthrough moment recently, I think.
Was there like a specific moment or instance that spurred John into having that conversation with you, or do you feel like that is just a period of time where you're wearing yourself down and it's just slowly becoming evident that you're doing too much?
Yeah, we had a big meeting after G2 team meeting, and I think everyone
After the recent,
yeah,
the first game of stage 2.
that barely defeated them with their
Yeah.
sub Baby Bay, who is a beast. And I think it was a good meeting all in all, but my execution of it could have been a lot better, and it ended up being, I think, more about some of what I've been dealing with and my frustrations than I intended. And I think everyone worked through some stuff, but I worked through more than anyone. And just kind of like, I think we were just walking back to the apartments after that, and just like reflecting out loud, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, I remember listening to an interview you did just after that, and you're definitely fired up, and you were saying something along the lines of like, oh, cool, we showed resilience. Who gives a fuck? Like, we should have, that doesn't matter. We should be playing better and just winning outright. Like, great, we made a comeback on the second half to barely win.
Yeah.
Do you think is that a mentality that you feel like you were just having because the moment was so heated? Or is that an idea that you do have no matter what, but you were just letting it out in such a more fiery way in the moment because of the context?
Yeah, I think that was something that had been building in the whole team, and multiple people on the team were communicating it, of feeling like we were going in circles. Like, you can't just constantly go, well, we got 5% better and we learned this thing for the third time. Like, at some point, like, it's time to win and to have the payoff. And I think I was sick and tired of feeling stuck in that spiral of not playing up to our potential, and the whole team was. And I think we were already there. I think it was we were running out of patience just in time for it to pay off and for us to honeymoon, which we really are lately. But it was going into a match like with the pent up like I'm sick of this happening, and any single time there's a moment where it seems like we're slipping or not being at our potential, it's just like triggering to me like I need this game to be the redemption. I'm consciously thinking about it going in. I think that kind of stress, I wasn't thinking about it in the right way, and it wasn't conducive to like trust. It didn't communicate trust that the team was ready to do it. And I think I'm not saying like how I communicated is why the players are doing so well. I think they're really showing that they are also done with learning moment. I mean, not, completely, but they're done with the spiral of like, resilience really messy. Like they're playing really clean and really confident on stage lately. And the best thing I needed to do was just like back off and like give them the trust and understand that it's in their control, and like, yeah.
How would you kind of compare and contrast where the team is at right now in terms of kind of just the vibe and the mentality going into Champions versus when you went into Madrid and won it? Does it feel like this kind of like lightning in the bottle thing, it's kind of here again right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all know we can be the best and win champs. We all feel like we're a top team. We feel like we understand the game really well right now. We feel like we're in a really good spot to win any map against anybody. And we are really certain of what we're at our best and that we can be at it regularly. And I think we all feel, like we've learned the lessons. We just know what we need to do, and it's time to do it. And I think we worked even harder to learn those lessons this year than at Madrid. Madrid kind of surprised us or came out of nowhere for some of us. Probably not for some of the veterans on the team who'd already won, but yeah.
So it was a little bit of a different feeling going into that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that was just kind of, it just sort of happened out of nowhere. I didn't even realize it was happening. This is like, I think we've gone through more growing pains leading up to where we're at now.
Yeah. With that Madrid win, I mean, there's definitely a lot of building emotion. And I remember you and other players just talking about the burnout of it and how much was going into it. What was that release like, and the feeling of winning and getting on the stage with the crowd and everything when you put yourself back there in that moment? If you see yourself there, what was that like?
Best feeling in the world, for sure. But I think, in a way, it's the best feeling in the world, the months and years that come after, of being able to look at the trophy and be really proud of the work. It's really hard for me right when you win. There is such a release of like stress and fatigue that it is just kind of like, for me, at multiple points in my career, the most difficult points that I've pushed myself through, I've come out the other end essentially sobbing in relief, just from it being over and done with, and I can actually breathe for like the first time in 3 weeks, kind of, and sharing that with like the rest of the team, like having that shared experience of that emotion with a group of people is like just an incredibly intense thing to go through, and it's really sweet and special. But it is kind of like funny to look back at like footage of us holding up a trophy and realize like, oh, like I'm 1 minute or 3 minutes into going through that experience, like while there's confetti and cameras and everyone's like, you won. Like, it's not, I don't think like the victory feeling is really like quite what people would expect. That kind of comes later, but just like, I guess there is a lot of pride. Like, oh my gosh, I just finished putting in so much work and like I did it. Like the relief and pride is really fun.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that was one of the moments when you were talking about earlier that like, damn, I could do this for I could do this for a while, and I need to feel that again.
Definitely. Yeah. Yep. Like the whole bus ride home after the shuttle back to the hotel after winning Masters, and somebody was just like, all right, let's do it again. I think it might have been Jordan. Yeah. I don't actually remember exactly who. Somebody was like, let's get another one. It had like 2 hours. Yeah.
Just already moving on.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I was trying to think about it when you mentioned that earlier. There was the one for me earlier this year was doing a global event for the first time and having the opening game of Masters Toronto. It was the Heretics PaperX game.
Yeah.
And there's always a good crowd if you guys are playing at the Riot Game studio. They'll go crazy when you guys are playing, or like, maybe 100 Thieves are there or something like that. But damn, just like, yeah, being on the podium and looking out just for the opening game, there was whatever, high 4,000s of people.
Yeah.
The hype video starts playing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how many times I will have an opportunity to do something like this in my life. I'm going to take this all in.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking out. They're playing the video package. I immediately start crying. I'm like, shit. All right, bring it back in. Bring it back in. I gotta cast in 2 minutes.
You're the right person to be doing it.
Yeah, they just did the makeup. Like, it's gonna start running. They're gonna have to get the makeup person up here. I gotta stop, lock in, stop thinking about the moment, and like had to refocus, and was just like, so insanely energized. Like when I listened back to that cast, it was like it was a fun game. And so, hey, PaperX are playing. That's going to demand some high energy casting.
Yeah.
Because they're just going at an insane pace, doing things in the game that I've never seen any other team do before. But even still, listening back to it, I'm like, oh my God, like the tempo we were at was just insane for that match. It was so high because I was just so excited about the moment that was happening.
That was the best feeling, though. Yeah. That's awesome that you can feel those emotions. It does mean you're the right person to be up there, and I'm sure it is energizing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I guess just trying to take it all in when it's there. Do you kind of have you had moments where you've had that same feeling like, I got to feel this right now, like intentionally trying to do that?
Yeah, I could get emotional thinking about it. The Masters Madrid was such a that last series, when I was like screaming at the team between map 3 Ascent that we'd lost and map 4 Split, like just feeling like we put so much into getting here, like, and this is it. And like the idea of coming second, the idea of like missing it because we didn't give, like, to look back and go, oh, I didn't give everything I could. I worked, for months, years, weeks, however you want to look at it for this moment. and I didn't give everything I could, that has got to that thought. The thought of having that thought is the most terrifying thought in my entire career, and I don't ever want to have it. And it is an incredibly motivating fear. And just like launching that out at the team without even thinking, it just like it was not calculated. It was just earnest and came out of nowhere, and I just felt it, and I just wanted to make sure everyone else felt it. And then sitting back down and watching like them just play like animals after, like, oh my God. I remember sitting on Tyson's POV sometime early into that split, and he was just destroying. And I was like, yeah, like, whoa, like this is awesome to see. And then I remember Icebox Map 5, and I'm like embarrassed to share this because it's like objectively probably a bad thing as a coach because the game isn't over. But I had and I've never had this before. I had such intense goosebumps going into the second half, and I was like, I was certain we were winning it. I was like, we won. We're going to win now. Like, and I don't understand how I felt that, and I'm not like a spiritual guy at all, but like I don't really have regret that I felt that in the middle of a game, even though I could sit here and logically explain why that's a terrible thing to be thinking and you just need to make sure you're locked in. But I still was locked in. I guess I have felt that before as a player and a coach. Like, you know you're winning, you know you're gonna win, but it doesn't hurt your flow state, it actually boosts it. Like, yeah, I get the score 0-0 thing, like I say it all the time, but like, yeah, I knew we were going to win, and I was like, we're going to win. Let me just finish the job now. And that was a sweet feeling. And I knew the whole team was feeling it. Like, Jordan was screaming, and Amin was like, we got to map 5, and Gustavo was like, what's the game plan, Cap? Like, at the start of the game, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I basically was like, I got a pistol written down here. Like, it's some scraps on a paper. Like, didn't really plan for the icebox, didn't get this far. Like, and we're just kind of figuring it out. Like, at half, Amin's just like on the fly calling a default we've never talked about or done before. He's like, you're going to knife here and we're going to do this. And I was just like, yeah, the certainty to feel that certainty in the middle of a game like that. I don't know. I can't really put into words like what that is, but that's like what it's about. Like, if you can get to the point of feeling like that, you can just win everything. Yeah. Knowing how to win. Rob talks to me about that basically. Yeah, just is a true thing in sport, any sport. You gotta learn what it feels like to win and like to know how to be a winner. We really got that there.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, that was a lot, but
no, that was an excellent answer, and honestly, that makes me feel like there's nothing else I can ask that could possibly top that. I'm gonna be real. No, I hope that you guys get to feel that again, and the new players on the team get to experience that as well. That's
all that matters. Yeah,
because I remember I'd done this with Zekken earlier in the year, and even just for narrate, I remember him just speaking with so much confidence in his ability, and at the time saying it's just going to take one game and one moment for him to realize how talented he is and to just unlock himself on the stage. And I feel like he's had that. And
he's
especially right now, this past few weeks, he's been pretty unreal. And at least I felt like I remember when I was casting you guys a couple weeks ago in what we were describing as the beach episode in the anime filler arc, where the fans get to come out and celebrate you guys beating Furia and just having a nice fun time that day. Good day to be a SEN fan in the arena. Was that I had said during that, like, I think Zekken right now, I think he's in the best form he's ever been in over the last couple months. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I guess just like eye test, I'm like, wow, he's been good, but this is different. Like, even going back to how he was at Toronto as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, every single one of them has just, every single player has stepped up, like, and it's like, and really found themselves. Yeah, I mean, especially very insane kudos to Marshall, who like has just done so much of his own growth on his own. He gives everything he has to the game. He puts so much time in. He puts a lot of time, I'm certain. He doesn't, it's just obvious to tell, into his own personal growth, and he has really found himself and is just unreal on that stage. And yeah, Zach's form is crazy. He is just deleting everything in sight. And Sean is very confident lately and really getting a lot of microing and ideas out in a way that he's so good at, but he's doing so consistently. And yeah, I mean, Amin is calling with a ton of confidence and looks very comfortable as an individual player right now. And Jordan is he looks like me a little relieved, like, nice. Everyone's we're finally honeymooning, and now he's just locked into doing his job more and not having to put so much into trying to pull that rope. It's just, it's everyone kind of stepped up at the same time. It's awesome to see.
And you can tell. But yeah, I really hope you guys do well at
Thank
Champions.
you very much.
Yeah, really rooting for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for this.
Thanks for having me.
Really
Wyatt.
awesome.
Yeah,
I
really
appreciate
enjoyed
it.
it.